watching live, thank you. If you're watching the recording, thank you as well. We're so excited to have Mickie Mueller joining us. I've known Mickie for many, many years. We go way back. I think I've been on your Google for Education show with Odie in the past, and good friends with mutual friends with Josh Allen. So real excited to host this event talking about AI in schools with Mickie. She's been doing a ton of work. It's going to save you a lot of time with the resources she's going to provide you. She is the EdTech facilitator at Norfolk Public Schools in Norfolk, Nebraska. And we're so grateful to have her today. How's it going, Mickie?
It's great, Taylor. I want to thank you so much for inviting me to do this. This topic has absolutely reinvigorated me as an educator. I'm actually nearing the end of my career in public education, but this one topic has got me going like nothing has in probably the last 5 years. So it's a topic that I'm passionate about. It's a topic that I've done a lot of research on, and hopefully it's one that I can give some knowledge to people that maybe haven't had a chance to do as much research in, and one I'm really excited to share with you today.
Yeah, it's an important topic, right? Because there are so many unknowns, and I think there's just so many different tools out there. I know you've looked into the privacy policies on some of these tools, how teachers can use them. It feels like early day Twitter when everyone was so excited to share things. It's different, but it feels like that type of excitement. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And I've been around the education world for 30 some years now. So I equate it back to when we got the internet
Yeah,
in
there you
school,
go.
right? I taught in a computer lab. I taught in a computer lab my entire career, but my computer lab at the time was Apple IIgs computers, and I had a dot matrix printer. And we actually were one of the first schools in the state to get a lottery grant. And that's what we did with our lottery grant, was buy computers and connect to the internet. So that was back in 1994, 95, that time frame. So and that was a major monumental shift for educators. And then, we had Google come along. And people were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? They're just going to Google the answers, right? And so it's a big shift. And to be honest with you, when this first dropped in November 30th was when ChatGPT was released to the masses. My first initial reaction to this was like, oh my God, what have we done? How is this going to affect everything? And so for the first, few weeks, we were hearing things about reporters getting the AI to hallucinate and want to be friends with it, and all of these crazy stories. But the more that I've researched and done some thinking about it, I really think this has a chance to positively impact teaching and learning. And so that's the reason why I'm looking at it. That's the reason why I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that is very well put, and I hope that cues up what you're about to share with us. Before I hand it off to Mickie to share her screen, those of you watching live, would you drop in the chat who you are and where you're from and what you teach? That would be super helpful. And as you have, if you have questions that come up that you'd like Mickie to answer, I'm going to be monitoring that so that she can focus on what she's sharing, and I will try to plug those in between breaths. Mickie's got a ton of energy, so we're going to let her share that with us. Take it away.
All right, absolutely. Yeah, Taylor knows I talk fast and furious. So if you don't catch something, just ask a question and we'll come back to it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let's see, I'm going to do this one. And hopefully it doesn't go wacko crazy on us. All right, can you see my presentation?
Beautiful.
Okay, great. All right, so we're going to get started first with a little quiz, maybe. So, Taylor, you might have to help out on this one, or maybe we can get some people in the chat to respond. But I gave an assignment to write a summary of the story Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which is the first book in the Harry Potter series. And I'm going to give you 3 options. And what I want us to do is to see if you can spot the bot. So the assignment again was to write a summary of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So here's the first option, and I'll give you a second to kind of read through that. Okay, here's option 2. And here is option 3.
Mm.
So of these 3 options, we'll go back. Here's one.
Feel like I'm at the eye doctor. I was there last week. This is great.
Option 2 and option 3. Do you have any guesses which one might be written by a student or which one is written by a bot? Where are you leaning?
Yes, well, I can talk, but those joining in the chat there, Dimitri, if you want to put, but I would say option 2. I've used ChatGPT quite a bit, whichever tool, if you use Bard or not, but option 2 is definitely a AI.
Okay. Do you have any feelings on 1 or 3?
1 has so many spelling errors. Dimitri's saying option 1 is a student. I could probably get behind that. And 3 maybe is like, hey, take the 1 and 2 and
Sorry about that.
mash it up into option 3.
Okay. So hang on one sec. I thought I'd turned off all my little widgets and things. Okay. All right. Well, guess what? All 3 are AI. So
oh, nice.
Here are the prompts that were put in to generate each of those paragraphs. So the first one, the one that had the spelling mistakes, the one that you would think was probably a student, that was write a 7-sentence summary of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone at a 6th grade reading level with spelling and grammar errors included. And then on the second attempt, we wanted a 2-paragraph summary at a 5th grade writing level. I think paragraph 2 is probably even above what a fifth grader could write at. But then paragraph 3 was from that previous summary in the second one, make it into a 6 sentences at a 4th grade reading level. So what this shows is that it's super hard to detect if writing is artificially generated. But what we're going to talk about today, there's all different types of artificial intelligence. But what we're going to talk about today is a specific type of artificial intelligence called generative AI. And this is a type of artificial intelligence that creates new contexts. So it creates new text, or it can create new images, music, or even videos. And it does this by learning from a large amount of existing data. So for example, if it's a generative AI model that can generate text, it might be trained on a data set that includes books, articles, and other written material. So like everything on the internet, right? That's what it was trained on. All of the books in the library, that's what it was trained on. Once it has been trained, then that model can generate new text that is similar to the data it was trained on. So this is the type of artificial intelligence that we're going to talk about today. And this answer was actually generated by Bard, which is Google's artificial intelligence. So we're going to take a look at some different tools. We're going to take a look at the specific bots that you've probably been hearing a lot about, but we're also going to take a look at some specific tools that will greatly benefit educators. So the first is ChatGPT. This was the one that was released in November. It reached 1 million users within 5 days, which is astronomical for a new platform. This is the one that you've heard probably the most about. And ChatGPT stands for chat-based generative pre-trained transformer. And I have to write that down there because I always get asked what that stands for and I never can remember what it stands for. So I've got a video here by Matt Mueller. Matt Mueller is the author of Ditch That Textbook. He has done some of the best, most thoughtful, most teacher-centered research on generative AI tools. And I'm just going to kind of talk over this video. If you've seen it, it's a really great video that kind of summarizes what ChatGPT can do in about 6 minutes. So he is asking ChatGPT to write a 5-paragraph essay on the causes of the Peloponnesian War. And 5-paragraph essay, okay? So that's pretty simple. So this is live time, and here the bot goes, writing this essay. And so you can see it's pretty quickly generating the content that we need for a 5-paragraph essay. Now, Matt has sped this up a little bit so to save some time, but here he is. Here's your 5-paragraph essay, right? Pretty simple. Look at the wording that they've used, that the bot has chosen to use in this paragraph. Okay, maybe a little bit much for a high school or a junior high student. So now let's write the essay as if you were an 8th grader. So what are we changing? Now it's a big fight that happened between 2 Greek cities, right? An 8th grader would describe it that way, as a big fight. And here it is, again, the same essay written at an 8th grade level. Now Matt is wanting to rewrite the essay on a college master's level. Look at the wording change. Now it's an array of underlying factors, an outbreak of hostilities. So those are the kinds of things that you can notice when you're generating AI content. But Matt goes further to see what the bot can do. And now he says, make it funny, like a comedy. Okay, I love this. So he's taking, it's the same prompt. Notice he's carrying on the same conversation with the AI, and he's just refining the prompts as he goes through. So here he's saying that it's like an OG WrestleMania, but with more spandex, less swords and more spandex, right? So that's how we're going to make it funny. Again, 5-paragraph essay format. So generative AI tools that are outputting, that their text is their output, can really do a good job of those basic writing tasks. In conclusion, it was a significant event in Greek history. Okay, so now he's asking for it to summarize it into bullet points for a 10-slide PowerPoint presentation and include suggestions for images, which again, it does quickly and easily. How much time as a teacher would it take you to come up with that same amount of information? And now he's asking for a list of 10 discussion questions for a history class, a high school history class. And now he's asking for an analogy that he could use with middle school students. Well, it was like a big soccer fight, a big match between 2 soccer teams. Now he's asking for some jokes that he could tell in class. You know, as a teacher, you always want to have those good jokes on hand. So it's giving him some jokes. So you get the idea, is that ChatGPT can do these types of tasks relatively quickly. And this is a great video. It'll be included in the resources that I have to share. I'm going to go ahead and go on so we can so we can get on to some more information. That's ChatGPT. Bard is Google's version of AI, and this is a shorter demo, but kind of goes along the same lines. To access it, you go to bard.google.com. If you are a Google Workspace for Education district, you have to enable that in your admin console. So here I've copied in a prompt that I'm going to show you from another resource that I'll talk about a little bit later on. But this, I want them to generate a lesson for my Earth Science unit. I want them to attach it to Common Core Next Gen standards for grade 6. I want it to include objectives. I want it to include a summary. I want it to include specific activities in here. And so again, this is live time. That's how quickly. So you notice that Bard didn't give me that line by line output like ChatGPT did. It came all at once. But here is my lesson plan, a 3-day lesson plan on those topics, complete with lesson objectives, vocabulary, an outline, an assessment of learning, and a closure activity. Now, the thing that I like with Bard is that it actually gives you multiple drafts. So if I didn't like draft 1, I could go and check out draft 2. And if I didn't like draft 2, I could go and check out draft 3. So within Bard, rather than having to reprompt it again, it's giving me those multiple drafts all at once. So I like draft 1, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom to show you some other unique things that are available within Bard. So here, if I wanted to modify this prompt, if I wanted to make it shorter, longer, simpler, more casual, or more professional, I could do that with just a click of a button. I can also ask Bard to interact with a file, like a PNG or an image file. But my favorite thing about Bard is that I can export this directly to Docs. So I asked it to export to Docs. Here, I'll open the doc, and here it is, the lesson plan that they just generated for me. Now, because it's in doc format, I'm able to take that and to edit it. So that's just a little bit different between Bard and ChatGPT. You'll see people have different opinions of which one they like better. But as I said at the top, I'm constantly learning about these tools. And this one, as a matter of fact, I just learned about last week. I just put this into the presentation yesterday. This came from a video series from Wharton, the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. It's their Wharton Interactive Crash Course. It's a video series called Practical AI for Instructors and Students. And they do an excellent job of explaining artificial intelligence and how it can impact teaching and learning. They highlight not only ChatGPT 3.5 and 4. So there's two different models of ChatGPT that are out right now. 3.5 is free. 4 you have to pay for. They also talk about Bard, and this is the one that they talked about that I wasn't really on my radar, but it's Microsoft Bing. That has AI built into it as well. And if you know about Microsoft, they have actually backed OpenAI, which is the company that has produced ChatGPT. So that's why this piece is built right into Bing. So it's integrated into the Edge browser, which is what I'm showing you today, but you can also access it through Chrome. If you go to bing.com and use the search engine, you can also access the AI through that. Bing AI is built on ChatGPT 4, and the difference between ChatGPT and Bing is that you can access the internet with Bing. So if it's not sure about something in its data set, it can actually go out and access the internet and current information and add that into its results. The Bing AI chatbot is free to use, but the full functionality of the tool, you do need to have a Microsoft account. Now I'm showing you today, I do not have a Microsoft account, and so I'm showing it to you as you would if you didn't have a Microsoft account. So you can still access the AI, but the results you get may be limited without having that Microsoft account. Another interesting thing about the Bing AI is that DALL-E 2, which is a generative AI for generating images, is built into the Bing AI chat. So you can ask it to generate images, and it will, but you do need to have a Microsoft account in order to generate the images. The current daily chat limit for Bing AI is 30 messages per conversation and 200 chats per day. And the prompts are limited to 2,000 characters. So that's how much data you can put in your prompt in order for to work with Bing AI. So I've got a little video here that I'm going to show you how you can access the chat. So you can access Bing AI just in the sidebar. So you notice I have my search panel on the left, I have my Bing chat on the right. Or you can switch from search mode to Bing mode. And this will open up in a new tab, and the whole tab will be your Bing chat. Bing chat actually has 3 different conversation styles. More balanced is the default, and that will be a balance between creativity and accuracy. More creative still gives you reasonable responses, but it has a creative touch. And then more precise is more likely to be factual, concise, and accurate. You notice that you can upload items into Bing chat, and it will review those items and give you feedback on those items. So here I have copied a prompt from another prompt library that I'm going to share with you in a minute. And I want it to generate multiple choice questions about their eyes were watching God. And this is a book from the Harlem Renaissance that's frequently featured in American Lit classes. I'm using the balanced mode here. And notice it's giving me straight up, plain, very basic answers, right? Who was the first husband? Who was the second husband? Who was the third husband? Notice it's given me prompts that I could ask to follow up. But let's take that same prompt and let's try it in each of these other conversation styles. So now we're going to go to more creative. And more creative and more precise, both of those conversation styles use ChatGPT 4 as the base. Now notice it's telling me that it is searching. So it's going out, it's conducting a search on the internet to get more information. So look at the types of questions that this is generating. They're more detailed, they're more higher level, I would say, and it's formatted differently. So this is the creative mode. It's actually formatted so I could copy and paste this to something else and ask my students those questions. I asked it to highlight the correct answer with the green checkmark emoji, and it certainly did that. So again, it tells me where it got the information from. I can copy it and paste it into something else, or I can do an export. Now I'm going to clear that conversation out, and I'm going to go to more precise mode with the same prompt to see. We're just comparing the different choices that it's giving us here. So again, here are the questions. More detailed, definitely, than the first option that we did, the more balanced style, the conversation mode. So see how quickly you could generate questions from a book or an article, a website, online text. And again, it will give us sample prompts. If we wanted to re-prompt the bot with the same conversation stream, we could do that. So that's Bing Chat. Not one that I was familiar with up until a few days ago, but one that I thought was important to highlight. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about prompting, and to work with ChatGPT or Bard or Bing Chat, you need to be good at prompt engineering, and that is constructing the prompt, constructing the question that you ask the bot. And here's a couple of resources that come from code.org. Code.org has done a phenomenal series on AI 101 for teachers, and this video actually shows a teacher conducting using prompts and each of those three tools that I just shared with you to do teacher things. So things like, can you evaluate this website and give me 3 different activities that a student could do using this website? Or I got an email from a parent and I need help responding. So really practical applications for how teachers could use these bots. And then I mentioned the prompt library, the prompts that I played with in these examples. The one came from this prompt library, which again, this is a part of the code.org AI 101 session. And so this will give you, if you have no idea where to start, you have no idea what question to ask the bot, there's some great examples in here that are specifically for teachers. Another prompt library that's out there is the AI for Education's prompt library. I used one of these prompts in the Bard example, actually, and these will work with any chatbot. So ChatGPT, Bard are 2 that I highlighted here, but Claude is also another one that I've heard a lot about that I have not played with yet. And Perplexity is a little new to me. I have not heard about that one either, but all of those bots work basically the same way. You prompt it with a question, it gives you an output, you re-prompt, you re-question, and you go back and forth and you have a chat. That's why they're called chat bots. It's not a one and done type of question. You need to continue, you need to think of it as your personal assistant and continue asking it questions. Now, this was something fascinating that I learned from Sam Carey, who is at New EdTech Classroom. And what he suggests is that when you are prompting the AI, give it a role and be as specific as possible. So don't just say you're a teacher. Say you're an award-winning history teacher, or say you're a kindergarten teacher, or you're an innovative curriculum designer. I love the option to say you're Maria Montessori. What kind of activity, how would that change the activities that you were given if you told the bot to act as Maria Montessori up front? So this is another tip that you can use when you're actually doing your prompts and you're working with the bots, is to give it a role. Now, prompt engineering is kind of a new term that came along when ChatGPT started. And it's important to note that tools like ChatGPT and Bard and Bing Chat, they can do all of the teachery things that a teacher needs to do, from writing lesson plans to generating questions to helping with writing emails to parents. But in order to make those tools really effective and work for teachers, a teacher needs to be pretty good at prompt engineering. And that is asking the right question to get the right output. At this point, that is the situation. I anticipate that within a year, the AI is going to be so good, the need for prompt engineering isn't going to be there as much. But as it is right now, You need to be good at prompt engineering to get the output quickly that you want. So this field, this AI and education field, evolves at a rapid pace. Companies have come along within the last 10 months that didn't exist a year ago. And what they have seen is the power of ChatGPT. And what they're doing is they're building their product on top of the ChatGPT engine. So behind all of these tools is ChatGPT. And what these companies are doing is they're training the AI to specifically do one or two or three things really well. And they've kind of put guardrails in place so that that is all the AI is doing when you're using it. But bottom line, the majority of these companies are using ChatGPT underneath their tool. They've just built their platform on top of it. None of these companies that I'm going to talk about next existed 10 months ago. And more pop up every single day. So you can use ChatGPT or Bard or Bing Chat to do any of the things a teacher would need to do, or you can use one of these tools instead. And all of these tools that I'm going to demo now are currently free or have some free and some premium features, which means you have to pay for it. I do not anticipate that any of these tools will stay completely free. And that is simply because the cost of doing this, of using that AI is really great. And they're going to have to make money some way. So while they're all free right now, I don't anticipate it'll stay that way. So let's take a look at some tools that teachers can use that will save them some time. So the first one is CurryPod. CurryPod is based out of Norway, and this was one of the first education-based AI tools that really hit the market about 10 months ago. And with CurryPod, you can create interactive presentations that are based on a topic, a standard, an objective, or grade level. However much information you give it, CurryPod will create a presentation for you. So I like to think of this tool like Nearpod or Pear Deck. Those tools that have interactive elements that students can interact with during the presentation, CurryPod is along those same lines. So CurryPod will generate activities like word clouds, exit tickets, polls, and brain breaks. You can edit the slides that CurryPod creates. You can edit the activities that they create. And on the free version, you can create unlimited presentations. And another thing, if you already have an existing presentation, you can actually upload that to CurryPod and curify it. So you can add those interactive elements to a presentation that you already have. So I'm going to just take a quick look at what CurryPod can do. So I'm going to go ahead and generate a full lesson. And I want to generate a lesson on gravitational force. And I'm going to say this is for my 5th grade students. And I'm actually going to copy and paste an actual Nebraska standard. You do not have to use a standard, but I'm going to give it some more context. I'm going to attach the standard. This is real time just to show you how quickly it will do this. And here we go. Here's my presentation on gravitational force. I've got my learning objective. I've got a definition of gravitational force, some more information on gravitational force, some did you know facts, and now here are the interactive pieces that students can interact with, from open-ended questions to polls, to an exit ticket, to a brain break. I can reorder these slides in whatever order that I want, so I can click and drag and move them around. I can edit the content on any of these slides. So for example, that's a little bit too close to the text. So I'm just going to scooch that picture over a little bit. And I don't really like this picture to go with that objective. So I'm going to use their image library, which actually uses Upsplash photos. And I'm going to search for one that I think is more appropriate, something to do with space. Now on the interactive slides, I can change the type of activity from an open question to a poll or a word cloud or a drawing. I can change the amount of time that I want my students to interact with that question, and I can change the number of times I want them to submit an answer. And again, don't tell my husband that I am removing the Star Wars Stormtrooper picture, but I'm going to change the picture to make it something a little more that matches this slide over the Stormtrooper picture. But I can also add my own slides to this presentation, my own activities. So if at the end I want to see if my students understood gravitational force, I can ask an open-ended question, explain gravitational force. I can change the duration, how much time I'm going to give them to put in that answer, and how many answers I want to give them. So CurioPod will create presentations quickly and easily for you that incorporate interactive elements that will have your students interacting with your presentation, not just passively listening. The next tool that,
Mickie,
yes, go ahead.
Yep. Quick question from Dimitri. Do students need to be logged into CurioPod?
Yes, that's a great question. But they'll have a join code. So similar to Kahoot or Quizzes, those types of tools, they'll get a join code and they'll go to CurioPod and put in that join code. So yeah, great question. Okay, so Diffit is the next tool that I'm going to talk about, and this will adapt reading material. So it will either generate passages from a topic that you put in, or you can copy and paste any from any online textbook, website, any source, and it will not only generate the passage at the reading level that you request, it will create a summary, a bulleted summary, a vocabulary list, multiple choice questions, short answer questions, and open-ended prompts. And then with Diffit, you are able to print the results, save it as a PDF, or you can export it to docs or forms. So we're going to take a look at Diffit. And again, you can search for any topic or any question, just put that information in there. Or you can copy a URL from an online resource, or you can paste in any text or any excerpt, and it will generate the questions for you. You can even upload a PDF if you have a PDF of content. I'm actually going to copy a URL from Wonderopolis. I'm going to use this resource, and I'm going to set it for my 4th grade students. So again, I did not speed this up. This is real time to show you how quickly this works. I love the tips that Diffit gives you because, as always, with any of this AI generated stuff, you, the teacher, need to go back in and evaluate if it is indeed correct, if it is indeed appropriate for your students. And so these are some of the tips that they're giving you as you go through and wait for Diffit to do its work. So Diffit is actually going out to that article, that URL, and it's interacting with that text. It's bringing it into its tool, and it's using the AI to put it at a level, the 4th grade level that I suggested. So here is my article on the Mexican Revolution. You can see the adaptive reading passage. And if I were to just put in a topic, I can actually show the sources that Diffit used to get information for that topic. There was my summary, my vocabulary words, my multiple choice questions and the answers, my short answer questions and the answers, and my open-ended prompts. Now, I can ask it to add additional questions. So what type of a question do I want? And it will generate however many more questions that I ask it to based on this particular passage. Now, the thing that I love about Diffit is that you can actually export this to docs. Now, they've changed this just a little bit, but if I choose a digital template, this is a template that I could assign to my students through Google Classroom, and then they could fill it out online. And so it's generating the doc for me. And here we can go and open the doc. And notice how well this is formatted. It's in table format. It gives the information, it gives the passage, it gives the summary, and here are the questions that my students would need to answer, complete with space for them to answer the questions. So I love that about Diffit. Now, another thing that Diffit will do is it will actually generate those questions in a multitude of languages. So let's say I am a Spanish teacher and I want to have a passage for my students to be able to read in Spanish. I'm just using that same Mexican Revolution resource that I had earlier, and I'm asking it to translate it into Spanish. Or if you are an ELL teacher and you want to generate content in your student's native language, you can use Diffit to do that. Now, I don't know for sure how many languages that they offer, but they offer quite a few. So again, this is real time. I didn't speed this up because I wanted you to see how quickly this actually works. And so here is that article now translated into Spanish. complete with the article, the summary's in Spanish, the vocabulary's in Spanish, the questions are in Spanish. So I just love this tool. Right now, this tool is completely free. So you do have to have an account in order to create and generate the content, but it's free to create that account. All right, Question Well is the next tool that I have to show for you, and this will generate questions from a reading passage. Excuse me. You can select from those generated questions, and you can add your own questions. And then the magic in Question Well is the number of places that you can send these questions to, from to a Google form, to quizzes, Kahoot, Bookit, Gimkit, all of the popular quizzing tools that teachers use. There's an integration with Question Well. And with Question Well, you do need, again, to have an account and log in. But to show you how this works, we're going to go ahead and try it out. And you will need to create that account before you can try it. You're going to give it a topic, a subject, and a grade. And so I am wanting to do 8th grade science this time. Again, this will generate questions in a different language. So you can choose the language that you want the questions to be generated with. I'm going to take this article from Science News Explorers, and I'm going to pop that into this area here. Now, I could write just some information about what I'm looking for, what types of questions, what topic I want. I could use a standard and put that in there. I'm going to choose to use this article. So it's the AI is going out and it's reviewing that article. It's bringing it back into its tool. Now, it also brings in some stuff that I don't necessarily need. So I'm going to take that piece out. With Question Well, you do have a limit of 2,000 characters on the free version. You can put in the outcomes, the learning outcomes that you want, or if you leave it blank, Question Well will generate those for you. There is a paid version to Question Well, and with that, you can generate different types of questions. On the free version, you will just generate multiple choice questions. And on the paid version, you can actually attach it to specific state standards. On the free version, it does not do that. And again, I left this real time so that you could see how quickly this worked. And here is my question. So you notice it generated some essential questions for me. I didn't put that in. It generated that based on the passage. And it also generated questions. Now, I've seen this, depending on the article, generate as many as 20 questions, which is a lot of questions. So you can choose to add the question, you can copy the question, you can delete the question, or you can flag it. You can also change and edit any of the questions and answers. So if it's not quite right, you can have the ability to go in and make those edits. Now, I've decided that I'm going to include all of these questions, so I'm going to select them all. Here's the magic in Question Well. Where can you export these questions to? Quizzes, Kahoot, Google Forms, Google Slides, Bookit, Quizlet, all of the popular tools that teachers are using to quiz. They're all exportable from Question Well. And what I like about this, the little question mark next to each one, it will even give you directions for how to do that. Most of the time, you're going to export like a CSV file, and then you'll import that into the other tool. There's not a direct connection between these tools. Generally, you download a file from Question Well and import it into the other tool. So I love Question Well for generating questions. Again, here is a free and a paid version for Question Well. I just showed you the free version. All right, we've got 2 more tools that I'm going to go through. Auto Classmate does a lot of stuff. It will generate lesson plans. It will generate engagement activities, would you rather questions, and it has a lesson plan activity and forecast tool. And this is one of the tools that has both free and paid editions. I'm showing you the free version, which I do not have. You don't have to have an account in order to use this tool on the free side. But you'll see here the different tools that they have listed. Freemium means it's free with some paid versions. Free means it's totally free. Premium means you have to pay for it. So we're going to take a look at the lesson plan generator. And we are going to generate a lesson for 10th grade social studies. And I'm actually copying a 10th grade social studies or a high school history standard from the state of Nebraska. The content area is social studies, Nebraska, and yes, I want it to align to state standards. And now, just like that, there it goes. I mean, it's incredibly fast what it will do. It's giving me materials. It's telling me the procedures that I will use and about how much time each thing will take. It gives me some assessment ideas. Conclusion and reflection ideas. Telling me it's aligning it to standards. There's some learning activities that I can choose from. Then you are, and again, everything a teacher would need in a lesson plan is right here. Again, you always go back and review everything an AI gives you to make sure that it's correct, but this is sure better than starting from scratch, which some teachers still have to do. So once you've gotten your lesson plan generated, you're going to give it a title. And again, because I'm not logged in, each time I generate a lesson plan or an activity from this site, I will need to fill in my name, my email address, because I'm not using an account. But that's a small price to pay, I think. So I'll put my name and my email in here. Then it asks if you want to subscribe to the newsletter and if you agree to their privacy policy. And then you'll go ahead and save the lesson. And here is the lesson plan again. They've generated it in a format that's the same format that we saw it in before. I'm actually going to download this PDF so that I can save it and have it to use. Now, the PDF is not editable, but there are tools out there that you can use to edit PDFs. Canva has a PDF editor. Adobe Express has a free PDF editor. So you can edit the PDF if you have one of those tools. So that's Auto Classmate. All right, the last tool, and this is the newest tool that I've added to my tools that I'm sharing with teachers, and it's called Magic School AI. And Magic School AI does everything a teacher could need, from creating instructional materials to differentiation, to creating materials for families and communities, to generating original content. Now, a disclaimer about this site. In my testing of this site, I asked it to, I put in to do a lesson plan. I use this site to do a lesson plan. And I put in a specific Nebraska state standard, social studies standard. And when it generated the lesson plan, it made up standards that don't exist. So I caution you using this tool if you're wanting to tie it to specific standards. This may not be the best tool for that, but I'm including it because of all of the other things that this tool does. So let's just take a look at some of the things that this tool can do. There are tons of tools. This is all free right now. So planning tools, the YouTube video question generator, they just added this week. There's a unit plan, multiple choice questions, make it relevant, vocabulary list, text dependent questions, reading quiz, help me make my directions clear, assignment scaffolder, text scaffolder, create an exemplar and a non-exemplar. The student support tools include a behavior intervention suggestion generator, accommodation suggestions, IEP suggestions. I have not tried out all of these tools, but these are the ones that they offer. You can generate a syllabus, you can generate an email, you can help respond to emails. The productivity tools include a text proofreader tool, which I have used to help me clean up my grammar. And then some community tools like a joke generator or a colleague song generator. There's even a practice plan generator in here. And then a separate component to Magic School AI is Raina. And Raina is your instructional coach. So if you're in a school district who doesn't have instructional coaches, Raina has been trained on pedagogy, classroom management. She's the latest in research. So you can come in here and ask Raina any of your classroom issues. So for example, let's say we have a student who likes to wander throughout the classroom randomly. We've all had that kid, right? Let's see what Raina gives us for suggestions. What are some strategies I can use with this student? And Raina says, sure, I can help you with that. And she gives me 2 great solid strategies that I can use with this student. Well, maybe I'd like a few more strategies. So they actually give you follow-up prompts that you can ask. by clicking on either one of those to follow up with that. But I'm going to ask Raina for a few more suggestions so that I have a lot of things that I can try with this student. Can you recommend a few more strategies? And sure enough, Raina can recommend another 3 or 4 additional strategies. So if you are stuck and you just don't know what to do with that kid, you can come here, keep the personal stuff out of it, put in generalities, and ask Raina for help. You can copy this content and then save it. But this conversation is also saved in your account, so you can see the chat history that I have saved there. But I can copy this text and then paste it into a Google Doc so that I can try each one of these strategies with this student. So that's a lot. Taylor, I think I'm going to stop here for a second and see if we have any questions.
Yeah, I think that's a good opportunity. I learned a ton.
There's a lot out there.
I have all the tabs open with all of these tools. Thank you. First of all, I just want to acknowledge the way you presented this information, I think is fascinating, because you took the time to do all the recordings and then you're actually talking through that. So that had to take a lot of time. You're a true professional. So kudos. I know this is what you do for a living, but I just wanted to acknowledge that I loved the way you explained how to use these tools. Like,
thank you.
Over that. That's really
I appreciate that. I would love to do a live demo, but you know what happens when you do that.
Yes.
So
yes. You've been there, done that.
Yeah, live demos don't always work. So this was a way that I could still demo those tools and feel comfortable that they were going to work.
Yeah. Dimitri said he wished he still was teaching to use some of these tools. And I think that's probably what's gotten you, you mentioned that at the beginning, so excited again, because you are able to provide some major value to the educators that you're serving, right? And helping
Absolutely.
them.
Absolutely. And I'll kind of close up the presentation with this in a little bit about why I think it's so important that we talk to educators about this now. But yeah, I just think the possibilities are endless. Now, this has been very teacher focused, but we're going to talk about students in a minute. And, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I'll get to that piece. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe this will cue it up. Dimitri said, the one big question that his staff has is, how are students using this and how can we protect our class and content?
Yeah, and those are good questions. And I think they're questions that nobody really has the right answer yet. Yeah. But I've got some stuff coming up here on students. So hopefully maybe one of these things will help us with that.
Yeah, let's go into it.
Okay. So before we get to the student piece, there are some things to keep in mind. Now, I've painted a quite rosy picture about all of what AI could possibly do. There are some skeptics out there, but there are definitely some things to keep in mind. So if you're looking at a tool like ChatGPT, the terms of service specifically state that 13 and up can use the tool. And if you're between 13 and 18, you have to have parental permission to use the tool. So if you're teaching at an elementary level or even lower middle level, ChatGPT is not a tool that you're going to have your kids on, okay? At least at this time, according to their terms of service. The other thing that you need to keep in mind, and I kind of referenced this as I went through and demoed each of those tools, is that the output is not always correct. So that's where you, the educator professional, come into play, where you're evaluating the output and determining, is this correct? Or do I think that maybe something, because AIs can hallucinate and make things up. So you always have to evaluate the content that the AI is giving you. The other thing that you need to keep in mind is that the output can be biased, and that's based on the data set that it was trained on. And so if there is bias in that data set, that bias will appear in the output as well. So always keep that in mind. Now, this is something that was really interesting and that really got big pub when the ChatGPT was first released. Citations. Now, you saw how easily ChatGPT could generate a 5-paragraph essay. We could have also asked ChatGPT to generate citations for that essay, and it will do a great job. It will generate citations. You could tell it generate citations in APA format, and it would format them correctly. But the thing that you need to keep in mind is that the citations generated by ChatGPT do not exist. The site might be there, the source might be there, the website, the article might be there, but the actual author, they just don't exist. So one way that you could, if you're asking your students to cite their sources, you need to start checking those sources. Don't just check that they're formatted correctly, check that those sources actually exist, because that's a key thing to know if they used ChatGPT or one of these other tools to generate their information.
I have actually come across that, Mickie, and I started to ask for references or articles to back up what I was putting in there, and it gave me some things, and I tried to find them, and they didn't exist.
They don't.
Yeah, it was fascinating.
It is very fascinating. And I actually had a discussion with Bard one day because I asked it for the same thing. And I said, this source doesn't exist. Can you give me another one? And it gave me another one, but that source didn't exist either. I was going nowhere with Bard that day. But so just keep that in mind. The data contained in these bots was scraped off of the internet before 2021. So ChatGPT, that's how current the information in ChatGPT goes to, which is why Bing is so important, because Bing can actually connect to the internet and get that more current information. So for example, if you ask ChatGPT something about the wildfires in Maui that just took place this summer, it wouldn't know anything about it because that wasn't in the data set it was trained on. All right, plagiarism detectors. So this is where our teachers, some of our teachers, I think, are going to go to first. They're going to say, well, that's okay. I'm just going to use my plagiarism detector. Like Turnitin is a popular plagiarism detector, and I'm going to catch kids cheating that way. Well, here's the thing. AI generated content is not plagiarized because it's entirely new content. It did not copy and paste this content from someplace else. It generated it new. And that's why plagiarism detectors like Turnitin have such a hard time determining AI writing from actual human writing. As a matter of fact, Vanderbilt University announced in August that it was turning off the AI detection in Turnitin because the false positives were so high. Recently, a study has come out, I think the study was done at Stanford, that plagiarism detectors are more likely to flag non-native English speakers writing as AI written when it was actually the student that wrote it. So you cannot rely on plagiarism detectors to detect AI. They just don't work. No matter what anybody tells you, they don't work. So another point that's really important is the better your prompt, the better your output will be. So you've got to get really good at prompting and figuring out what question I need to ask and how I need to ask the question. You have to give it some context if you want a real great answer. The better your prompt, the better your output. And I think for me, this was huge for me when I heard somebody say this. That it's not Google. ChatGPT is not Google. You know, with Google, we're so tuned to asking it a question or putting in a few keywords and accepting the first thing that's there on the list. That's not how these bots work. Chat is in the name. You need to have a chat with this thing in order to get the output that you actually need. So those are just some things to keep in mind when you're working with these bots. All right. So despite all the wonderfulness and the amazing things that my teachers are seeing, some of them are still going to say, let's just block it. Okay. And I think that's problematic on a couple of different reasons. First of all, do you know how many things you use actually on a daily basis have AI built into them? If you talk to Siri, if you talk to Alexa, if you ask Google, you're using AI. And the autocomplete in your Gmail or your doc, that's AI. Kahoot and Quizzes all have AI modes now. Canva, the design tool, Adobe Express all have AI built right into the tool. It is everywhere. We can't just block it. This is our kids' future. The other argument I think we can make with that, if we block it at school for students, there's still going to be students who can go home and access the internet on their devices at home and still access these tools. Well, what about the students that can't do that? We've just left them out of a great opportunity for them to get help and tutoring when there's no one around. So I don't think blocking it is the answer, but we absolutely do have to have conversations with our students about how to use these tools. And these are 4 groups that are putting together resources, lesson plans to have these discussions with students. I'm going to quickly go over these because there's a couple other things that I want to get to, and I know we're getting close to an hour here. Both the middle school AI that's on the left and the Day of AI on the right are from MIT, from different groups at MIT. Middle school AI has 4 different units with hands-on and computer-based activities ranging from AI concepts, ethical issues, creative expression, and how AI relates to your future. The Day of AI is a free hands-on curriculum, and these activities are organized by age group. So these go down all the way to elementary level, and they can be run in a 30-minute or a 1-hour time frame. CRAFT stands for Classroom Ready Resources About AI for Teaching, and that comes from Stanford, and that was developed by Stanford University students and practicing classroom teachers from across the country, and that is targeted to high school, and it can be used by a variety of subject areas. And then last one that I mentioned a little bit earlier with the prompt library is AI EDU. This is the AI Education Project. They are a nonprofit that creates equitable learning experiences around AI. Their lessons and activities that they have don't require that the students are actually using chatbots and AI, but they're building a foundational model for your students. Most of these are 7-12 in grade 7 and up. The AI snapshots are quick hit lessons, maybe that you could use at the beginning of a class to spark a discussion, but again, all revolving around AI and how that will affect students' lives. The AI Education Project also has a lot of training and PD developed for teachers. So if you're looking to learn more about AI, that's a great place to go to. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Oh, this is the other thing. So I think as teachers, we need to reflect on ourselves, and we need to change our thinking behind cheating. What is cheating, right? It used to be that plagiarism fell into that, and it still does if you take content directly from somebody else and pass it off on your own. But now AI has kind of thrown a monkey wrench into that. So this is a graphic from Matt Miller of Ditch That Textbook. Again, he's done some great work around teachers and I'm getting them to think about AI and how they can use it. And this is like a continuum, right? And you just need to kind of think through these things, and where do you land on this continuum? What is going to be okay for you and your students and your classroom? And you have to have conversations with your kids. Don't just bury your head in the sand and don't think, oh, they're not going to use it in my class. You have to have the conversation. And this is a great reference piece for having those conversations. All right, finally, we're finishing up here. Why should we have this conversation with teachers? In 2022, Merrimack College and Ed Week Research Center did a survey of 1,300 teachers across the United States. And on that survey, they found that teachers worked an average of 54 hours per week. And of those 54 hours, 25 hours were spent teaching. 29 of those hours were spent in administrative and other tasks, things like feedback, preparing, planning, communicating with parents, developing activities for students, right? How many of those 29 hours could AI assist with? Think about it this way. As a teacher, if you were to sit down and crank out a rubric for a project, it might take you an entire planning period to do that from scratch, 50 minutes, right? If you used one of these AI tools that I referenced today, it might take you 15 minutes from start to finish to put in the prompt, to reprompt, to verify the output, to make adjustments. Done. I've just given 35 minutes back to that teacher. 35 minutes earlier that they can go home, or 35 more minutes that they can use to spend time building relationships with students, which is what our teachers are best at. So I think this is why this is so important that we discuss this with students, with teachers. We've got to change the narrative that a teacher has to put their nose to the grindstone and work beyond their contract time to get all of the stuff done. Teachers are leaving our profession because they can't balance work and home. AI can be a help in that situation. So Taylor, That's it.
Done. Well done. Yeah, those are crazy stats, as Josh just mentioned, and I took a screenshot of those. And thank you again. We will be posting the recording. So we've got the recording this in the Future Ready Educators space. So if you have joined Future Ready Educators, you'll be able to watch the recording. I actually pay for ChatGPT, and I just did this with a video yesterday. So I'll take this video, and I have a plugin that will actually transcribe it and come up with the bullet points. So I'll test that out, and we'll see how accurate and well done that is.
Very cool.
You take a look at that. So that'll be fun to take a look at. Any questions? Put them in the chat. Otherwise, yeah, we're at 1 o'clock here Central Time. Thank you again for sacrificing your lunch and taking an hour that hopefully can help you save many, many hours, or your teachers that you serve. I know Dimitri's in IT, and I think some of the other folks here are at ESUs or also in IT. And so hopefully this serves as a great resource for you. And then Mickie will share, you have all those, you have a Wakelet, right? Is that what it's called?
Yes, if you want to put that Wakelet collection, it's just follows the presentation. Yep. All of the resources that I talked about in the presentation are in this Wakelet collection. If you can attach that to the recording, you know, in the show notes or whatever, then people can access those resources.
Fantastic. So we'll get that posted here in the next 24 hours. Thanks again, Mickie. Make it a great day, guys. See ya.